So in this video, I want to just talk to you about some few things about Canada. For those that are planning to come to study, or you're planning to come through the express entry or through work permit, and you're kind of thinking, how exactly is life like in Canada in terms of how easy can I get a job? Are people really telling me the truth? How do I even cope? And if I'm coming for school, can I work and pay my tuition? How can I go about my rent and other things? How expensive is the cost of living? Which province should I choose in terms of the place where I will have less cost of living? And how do I get PRO? So these are a lot of questions, and especially I think the focus of this video is going to be, just saying the truth as it is. I did a video recently and somebody commented and say, Peter, it seems like you're just more like trying to tell people the good side of Canada. You're not talking about the side where it's sometimes difficult or tough to get a job, cost of living have increased, inflation, this, and all of these things. I tell the person, well, that's true. I'll look into this. So in this video, I want to tell you, let's say some untold truths. You may have heard somebody saying it in other videos. You may have seen thousands or hundreds of videos where we have this caption, why people leave Canada. The question is, do people really leave Canada? I've been in Canada now for about 6 years and I have not left. So why have I not left? So those are some of the things that I'll be talking about in this video to know the raw truth about the state of things in Canada, and then you still decide if you want to come at the end of this video. Now let's talk about some few things. Number one, admission. Admission to Canada for if you're coming for universities, for masters, very competitive. If you don't have second class upper, just forget about it for masters, very competitive. And then for colleges, it's reasonable. Getting admission in colleges, you can get admissions in colleges within 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, as the case may be. Now, the second thing, let's talk about visa approval rate. This is where it gets really difficult. Now, I don't know, there's a lot of statistics for other countries in terms of visa approval rate. I'm just going to talk about specifically for Nigerians because I'm from Nigeria. In 2019, the approval rate was only 17% for Nigerians. And then in 2020, it was 20%. In 2021, it increased to 31%. So there is no data for 2022 at the moment. So you see that getting the visa approved is a Herculean task. It's not just like, oh, I just apply and I show whatever I like and then they're going to get it approved. So I think that is among the very difficult thing, even getting the visa approved. There is possibility for you to come with family, but you really have to show a lot of supporting documents and all of those things. Now let's talk about settling down. People have asked this question, how easy is it for me to settle down? How can I even get an accommodation? Okay, if I'm coming for study. Now there are a lot of ways that you can get accommodation. So the common one that people do, if you know someone in the province or in the city where you're going to, maybe you contact someone on Facebook or wherever, on LinkedIn, or you know someone there, a family member, they can help you to look for an apartment, and then you have an apartment before you arrive. You can also stay in a school hostel, right? You cannot just pay for that one because most times, the school accommodations are good. It also depends on your taste. In my first semester, I stayed in school accommodation, so I didn't have to start worrying somebody to help me look. I just, checked all the accommodations available in the university, at Memorial University, and then I paid. I just registered for it, and when I just landed from the airport, then I went directly to the apartment. If you don't have anybody, it's very difficult to talk to the landlords from outside of Canada and for them to accept. So what some people do is they try to get like a temporary accommodation, maybe an Airbnb for about a week or two, and during that 2 weeks they try to get look out for accommodation, maybe on Facebook Marketplace, on Kijiji. There are a lot of rental companies you can also check out. The good thing about this is if you are now inside Canada, it becomes easy to go check the apartment yourself. It's very difficult if you are outside of Canada, because you might pay like a 1-year lease from outside of Canada, and when you arrive, it is really, you don't like the place, and if you have a 1 year lease, you can't just live like that. You're going to lose a lot of money. It depends on the condition of your of your lease. So settling down, it's not that difficult. Okay, as it might, the first 1 or 2 weeks is going to be a little bit challenging because you're coming to a new place, you don't understand the system, you don't even know how the bus system is. You're trying to learn how to enter the bus, you're trying to learn about credit card, you're trying to do school registration, you're trying to settle your place, try to buy things and all that. So it is a little bit difficult. But if you come around, the good thing is that you will definitely see some other people that are in the same conditions as you are. And if you have people in the school, there are a lot of people that are willing to help you. For example, there are a lot of people that came in as new students, and we just met somewhere, maybe where they did their student registration, and then I'll just ask, if you have any question, just message me, right? So if they have any question about something, then they can message, I can just give them a guide. So there are thousands of people like me that are also willing to offer you assistance, but it's a bit challenging. So just be ready for at least the first 2 weeks. It's going to be a roller coaster, but you will definitely get used to it, especially when you come in the winter, right? So getting all the winter jackets and other things, you just need to know where you have to get them. You can go to a grocery store and then you have everything from the boots to the socks and everything to buy. Now, let's talk about cost of living. There's one of the comments that the person raised in my video that, oh, the cost of living has increased, the inflation, the bill, the rent, and everything. It is true. So I know a place, one bedroom in that place used to be around $730 per month. And now it has increased to about, $925. This is just depends on the place where you're staying. There is also a lot of other accommodation, where for a 1 bedroom apartment, you can see something as much as $1,200 for a 1 bedroom apartment. I mean, it's based on luxury, right? Some people want to live high life, and if you have the money to pay, no problem. But just know that it's quite expensive. For a 1 bedroom apartment, you can see between $550 to $600 to $650. It depends on how new the apartment is. So if you're looking for something cheap, it has to be one of those not too new apartment. If I say new, not too new, it doesn't mean that it's like shaking and everything in the house is shaking. They say try as much as possible to maintain it, but I would say it depends on you and on your budget. And then in terms of other bills, right, you have to pay, if you have a car, you have to pay car insurance. Minimum that I've seen so far as a newcomer in Canada, you should be talking about anything from $250, between $250 and $280, depends on the insurance company that you are dealing with, right? And then you have to pay some phone bills as well. This hasn't increased so much. For a month, you should be talking about maybe $45 to $50. And then if you actually get a plan, because here, another good thing is that you can get a plan, right? So instead of buying a phone for $500 and you really don't have the money, so if you have a credit card and you're working, you know that you're going to be earning every month, so you can actually get a plan. So which means you'll be paid like maybe $10 on the phone every month for about 2 years. So it's going to be a 2 years contract. So the only reason why you can break out of that contract is to actually pay the full balance of whatever amount that you're owing in case you want to buy a new phone, something like that. So overall, yes, the cost of living, especially rent, has increased. For grocery, not a lot. I think the main thing is the rent, But another thing you have to ask people that talk about all of this is how much are you earning, right? So if you are earning, let's say $3,000 a month, and you are in a 1 bedroom, or let's say 2 bedroom apartment, and you're paying $1,200 or $1,100, I mean, that's less than 50% of your salary. So I mean, it depends on you, the kind of place that you want to get. So sometimes people ask, oh, is Ontario more expensive? Generally, yes. Generally, yes. Ontario, especially Toronto. Toronto is quite, expensive. But even as expensive as it is, it depends on you, right? So it's left for you to go look for a cheap apartment or a cheap place to stay, as far as it is a good place. Now let's talk about getting part-time jobs. I would say for this, it's not that difficult. It depends on you. A lot of people, maybe you've been a manager in your company in your home country. Now you're coming to Canada as a student. You're thinking of, oh, I want to get that same managerial position for part-time jobs. It doesn't work like that. So most of the part-time jobs are usually entry-level jobs, and majority of the companies pay minimum wage. If you're able to see some companies that pay more, then that's fantastic. Okay, so just try to, when you calm down. Okay, calm down. And then one of the things you also have to ask, how is the Canadian CV written? Okay, so you don't just want to come with your old CV format. If you start to use that to apply for a job, you might apply for 100 jobs and not get it. So that's the first thing you have to think about. How is the Canadian CV? How can I draft a Canadian CV? And what are they looking out for? And then what are some of the jobs that are readily available? At least as a student, you want to be able to, at least the most important thing for you at that point in time is to be able to pay your bills. And then if you want to save for tuition, then that's another thing. That's another ball game entirely. So generally, a lot of people that I've seen get a job within 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 weeks, depends on you. So overall, if you really, you have to be very aggressive in submitting your resume in different places, right? And there are, you can use Indeed to check, for applications. Indeed is one of the most popular job area. You can check Job Bank as well, very popular. And then just apply. Don't apply for one or two, and then you don't get response for about 1 week, and then you come and start shouting and say, oh, there is no part-time job in Canada, and then but you already applied for 2 or 3. And know that it's not only you that is applying. Both Canadians are also applying for those part-time jobs as well. So it can be competitive, but I said generally, if you're aggressive in applying, within a month, you should be able to get a part-time job. Okay, and sometimes it also depends on when you are starting school, right? Some people want to settle down for about 2 weeks, get to see the class schedule and everything before. Now you know how your classes are. You kind of understand the system a little bit. After maybe 3 weeks or 1 more, then you can start working. Maybe for the superstars, I want to start working the day. In fact, I met someone. The person came, the day the person came, he was already applying for jobs. It was like, if I get a job today, I'm going to start. So yeah, it's easy to get part-time job, but you have to put in the work involved in doing all of the applications. And you can only work 20 hours per week, especially for those that are coming in newly. So the old, where the 20 hours permit is lifted, it doesn't apply to everybody. I think those that their study permit was approved, I think, before October 2022. But for new, you still have to stick with that 20 hours per week. In terms of jobs after graduation, is it really easy to get a job? Irex, just think about your home country. Do you just graduate and get a job? You just sit down, get a job. It's the same thing with Canada. If you graduate, you have to put in the work to apply for hundreds of jobs, 20, 10, it depends on you, right? And it depends on the kinds of job that you're also looking at. So I think this is the same everywhere. It is competitive because there are lots of people that are graduating that are also applying for jobs. So it's not only your responsibility to think about, what do I need to survive? What do I need? What kind of skills is required in my job, post graduation? And is this something I can start to do now? Maybe you want to get certifications, if you're into project management, getting your PMP, and some other things. It just really helps you to get, make the job search easier. Okay. Another thing is also building references. So it's good to talk to people so that whenever is required in terms of references, it's going to be easy for you to get references. So it's not easy. There is no way. It's not easy. Just like in your home country, it doesn't come to you on a platter of gold. You have to put the work in. But I haven't seen someone that's been in Canada, graduated, and stayed for like 6 months without getting a job. no matter how small the job is, they can just start from there and then kind of move upward. Another thing is going to be weather. People have complained about weather, winter, and it's really cold. If you watch a lot of videos where people say, this is why people leave Canada, they say, oh, Canada is too cold and other things. But they have not left. They are still there. They are surviving. And in fact, they haven't snapping pictures with the winter. Now, generally, winter here is around from ending of September to around April, which is around 8 months, 7 to 8 months. So it's a lot of time, okay? About 7 to 8 months, you are inside of snow and it's really cold. And then the spring and summer is usually between sometime ending of April to beginning of September or ending of August. That's usually the spring and the summer. That's usually where people wearing shorts and everything. Now, with the winter, I've talked about this, like hundreds of times. It is actually between your house. If you're going to enter the bus, there's going to be a heater in the bus. So it's actually from your house to the bus. That's actually going to be in the code. If you're in the mall, there is heater everywhere. If you're in the church or any other place, there's going to be heater in most of those places. It's only sometimes maybe in the bus stop when you are waiting for bus, then there's definitely no, heater in those bus stations, except the ones that is actually well built, that actually have that heating system. But overall, you wear your sweater. When you wear your sweater and you're properly kitted, then that shouldn't be a problem, right? You wear your gloves, you wear your hoodie, and there's winter jacket that makes you feel warm. When you dress properly, it's not going to be a problem. So I don't think anybody saying they are leaving Canada because it's too cold. That may not be the only reason why they are leaving. Maybe they just want to leave, right? So, but I don't think that's a primary reason why somebody is saying I want to, because other countries, United States, UK, Germany, all of these European countries, they are also cold as well with snow. So that's not really an excuse. Even though you come in the winter semester, you can definitely still survive. You just have to know what to buy. Your jackets and everything has to be properly intact. And if you are resuming in the winter semester, the school actually makes a lot of provision for students and then just give you guide on what to do. And then during orientation, you're going to get a lot of insight on that. Let's talk about the tax system. The tax system is very functional, so if you're working here, depends on the province, you should be looking at between 15 to about 23% of tax altogether, so this is what they use to do all the free healthcare and other things that you get. So I don't see any reason why people should complain about tax when you are getting a lot of things for free. Okay, so you have to pay that because this is what the government use, right? So if you're earning like 100,000 as your salary, and at the end of the day, your take home might only be like, $80,000 or $75,000 as the case may be, because the tax is going to be removed. But trust me, you're going to reap the benefit for that tax. Now let's talk about the education system. Well, it is tough. There is nowhere where school is easy. Even in your home country, if you don't read, you will fail. So in Canada, if you don't read, you're going to fail, right? So there's a lot of rigor in assignment and test, and exams. It's a rapid thing, right? You have to be reading continuously, right? And because you'll be doing like assignment and test every week, as the case may be. So it is very tough. So make your mind up that when you come here, you're going to take some time to read, especially those that graduated like maybe 10 years ago and now you're coming back to school. It is even more challenging compared to those that just graduated. So the first semester might look as if it is getting too much. Yeah, it was like that for me, my first semester, during my master's, it was very tough. It was very tough, right? So you have to if you have the opportunity to talk to your professors, you can talk to them, right? They will be able to advise you and give you some tips. If you're facing any challenge, talk to people. Don't die of silence. Talk to your professor. That's another thing here. If you're facing challenge, you can send an email to a professor and schedule a meeting, discuss your challenges with them, and they will be willing to help. Now, let's talk about the next point. Can I work to pay my tuition? This is relative. It depends on you as an individual, but know that if you're coming in newly, you can only work 20 hours per week. So if you're earning $15 minimum wage or $16, and you multiply that by 20. So you calculate that if you do that for 4 months, and if that is going to be enough for you to pay your tuition, because you still have to eat, you have to pay rent, you have to pay phone bills. So you do the calculations. I've done a lot of videos on this. Overall, it is very, very difficult. If you're coming with a spouse, then that's understandable. You can be studying full-time and then your spouse can be working full-time. Then you both can be able to raise some money to pay for the tuition. My advice is usually for the first semester, it's not possible to raise money, because when you come, you're going to pay your tuition in the probably in the first 1 to 2 weeks of resumption. So there's no way you're going to raise $8,000 in the first 1 week. That's impossible. You know, even the second semester, right, you're paying around that $8,000. So I would say if you can plan to have at least 1 year of tuition, if it's possible to, if you can stretch yourself, you do some other online stuff that are not really, monitored by the government. I mean, maybe some online side hustle, you have an eBay, and Amazon store, you can do all of those things. So doesn't really concern the government. So because you don't use a social insurance number to open those kind of accounts, so it doesn't really count towards that your 20 hours. So, but if you are doing a remote job, if you're doing a customer service remote job in Canada, and you're required to provide your social insurance number, all of those ones count towards the 20 hours per week. Let's just talk about, all of those, I've been talking about the good side and then kind of offering some hints as to how to survive based on the different points. Now, let's quickly talk about some of the more and more benefits, okay? For example, if you have children, your children will be able to go to school for free, for primary and secondary school. For if it is a government institution, they'll be able to go to school for free. So that is really good. Okay, maybe if you really have a very small child, then you have to be thinking about daycare. So that is not necessarily free. So it's mostly the primary and the secondary school that is free. So people have complained, oh, the child care is expensive and all of these things, right? But there's a lot of benefit when you go to doctor's checkup. Most times is free. Another thing is the immigration policy. The immigration policy is really good. At least, if you come here, you get your post-graduation work permit, and then when you graduate, you'll be able to get your, work permit, and then work for 1 year, apply for a permanent residency, and then you stay for like another 3 to 4 years, you'll be able to get your citizenship. So it's really easy, okay, for PRO route. And then for the health, this is also amazing, right? The healthcare is actually free. If you're going to see a doctor to do a checkup, it's free. But something like medications, you actually have to pay for that, except you're working in a place where they offer drug coverage and all that. There's a lot of events that you can attend, whether in the summer or in the winter semester. And then it is generally calm, okay? If you go for a walk, it is amazing, especially during the summer. The environment is nice, it is very relaxing and calm. And then the thing people also don't talk about is the salary. You might start up by earning, maybe when you graduate, $25 per year, $23. But there is a capacity to people earning 6 figures here, $80,000, $100,000. And then they still come back to say, oh, cost of living is high, Canada is too difficult, I don't know. But they won't tell you how much they earn. They can only tell you, oh, my grocery, I used to buy this thing for $5, now it is $7. But ask them how much exactly their salary, and then use that to compare exactly how much they are spending and how much they're able to keep. Because a lot of people are able to buy a house here. If you graduate, you start to work, depends on you, depends on your salary, depends on how much you're able to save. But a lot of people are able to buy a house within 2-3 years, post-graduation, even 1 year. Depends on how much you're earning. If you graduate and you get like an $80,000 job, maybe for master's or for PhD, then, it depends on the kind of, say maybe if you're looking for a $5 million house, so you have to look at, how you can raise that. But the thing is that for Canada, everything, buying a house is by mortgage, right? If you want to buy a house of $400,000, you don't have to have the full amount of money, right? If you're a permanent resident, and you only need to provide like 5% of that down payment, and then you begin to pay the rest as mortgage. The fact that in Canada, there is nowhere that is just work on a platter of gold. There is a lot of work involved. It's just like a home country. There's a lot of work involved in Canada to survive, and then you have to put in the work. I've done a video on this, something similar to this. Ask, learn how to do things yourself. Make research, put a lot of work involved, and then stop complaining, you know, and then just give thanks to God for every situation that you find yourself. And then when you put in the best effort, I trust that is definitely going to be rewarding. So you make your decision, you know, when you come, and how you survive and the things that you do. That is left for you to decide how you're going to live your life in Canada. I've just given you my own perspective on some of the things that I've seen over the past 6 years. So that's going to be it for this video. You know, it was a long video, but if you haven't liked this video, do it to like this video, and also hit the subscribe button if you haven't, so that whenever new videos are released, you will be the first person to get notified. So once again, thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.